what Ruben Amorim was heard shouting at Rasmus Hojlund from the sidelines of Man United versus Fulham. Rasmus Hojlund had another disappointing performance as Manchester United were dumped out of the FA Cup by Fulham. Ruben Amorim continues to show faith in Rasmus Hojlund, with the 22-year-old keeping his spot in the starting lineup against Fulham on Sunday afternoon. However, that may be more down to a lack of options more than anything else. Amorim only named 7 substitutes in his squad, which emphasizes just how much Manchester United have been plagued by injuries, again. Hojlund struggled again versus Fulham, managing only 9 touches in 68 minutes before being replaced by academy striker Chido Obi, who frankly offered much more than his fellow Dane. Amorim has defended Hojlund, suggesting that the rest of the team needs to provide him with more chances. But ultimately, his confidence looks shot. Ruben Amorim heard shouting to Rasmus Hojlund. Hojlund faces an uncertain future at United as a result of his poor season, but frankly there is nothing Amorim can do now other than support him and try to turn things around. That is exactly what the United boss was trying to do at Old Trafford, with Sam C reporting that Amorim was guiding Hojlund through the game with constant encouragement. Hojlund did make a fairly bright start to the game following encouragement from Amorim. He used his body well to defend the ball, but too often he struggled to get involved and he ended up becoming a passenger. Amorim expects Hojlund to improve, but there are worrying signs that his progress is stalling. The pressure of being United's first choice and only senior striker seems to be weighing heavy on him. Man United must sign star striker this summer. It goes without saying that a new striker will be at the very top of United's shopping list this summer. Amorim will want Victor Gyökeres to follow him to Manchester from Sporting Lisbon, but Gyökeres doesn't align with Ineos' transfer strategy. United scouts love Victor Osimhen, but signing him from Napoli will not come cheap, and at 26 years old he also doesn't fit the Ineos model. Read more, Denmark boss excited by Wonderkid as pressure mounts on Rasmus Hojlund, 15 goals scored since joining Man United Academy. But Ineos cannot only add young and upcoming players into this United squad. Amorim needs leaders and senior players who can handle the pressure. Hojlund could still salvage his United career if a new strike partner can come and relieve him of his goal-scoring burden. Alan Shearer seriously impressed with Chido Obi's performance for Manchester United against Fulham. Manchester United are out of the FA Cup after losing on penalties to Fulham on Sunday afternoon. Ineos want Europa League football for the next 4 years, but any chance of hitting that goal for next season is hanging by a thread. United have a tough Europa League draw, sit in the bottom half of the Premier League table and are now out of the FA Cup. United hosted Fulham for a place in the quarter-finals but fell behind as Calvin Bassey glanced home from a set piece. Bruno Fernandes hit back for United, drilling home a low strike which ended up taking the game to penalties. Victor Lindelof and Joshua Zirkzee had their penalties saved though as United crash out in the 5th round and will not retain the FA Cup. Alan Shearer on Chido Obi. United did carve out some chances at 1-1 with substitute Chido Obi looking sharp. The teenager forced Bernd Leno into one superb save as he went close to winning the game for United. Obi joined from Arsenal over the summer and certainly impressed United fans, offering more than compatriot Rasmus Hojlund in the United attack. Obi was praised by Amorim after his Premier League debut against Tottenham Hotspur in February, and he certainly showed glimpses of why he is so highly rated. Pundit Alan Shearer was on co-commentary duty for BBC Sport and offered praise for Obi's performance. Shearer claimed that Obi was a real handful and certainly offered more than Hojlund during his time on the pitch. Shearer, who knows a thing or two about great centre-forward play, added that Obi was a nuisance to play against and really liked what he saw from the teenager. "He's been a real handful in there, you know," said Shearer. February 3rd, 6:50 p.m. He's certainly offered a lot more than Hojlund has when he was on the pitch. He's been a nuisance and tough to play against. I like what I see from Obi, I really do. He's certainly given them a different option to play with, he added. Chido Obi knocking on the United door. Obi doesn't necessarily look ready for this level of football, but he poses a threat inside the box, and that's something Hojlund cannot say for himself. Hojlund has now reached 18 games in all competitions without a goal and did not look any more threatening against Fulham. Obi is raw and unpolished, but he gave Joachim Andersen and Calvin Bassey something to think about whilst testing Leno. The 17-year-old is now giving Ruben Amorim something to think about, having looked more lively than Hojlund. United have big games to come, and with Joshua Zirkzee preferred in a deeper role, Obi is knocking on the door, and may force his way into Amorim's starting 11 sooner or later. Wayne Rooney gives instant verdict on Manchester United FA Cup exit, points out biggest disappointment. Manchester United have crashed out of the FA Cup following a lackluster performance against Fulham at Old Trafford. A dire first half for Manchester United got worse as Calvin Bassey gave Fulham a 1-0 lead on the brink of halftime. United were marginally better in the second half, and it took 71 minutes for Bruno Fernandes to score the equalizer. It was a game that lacked goal-scoring opportunities, but it became an end-to-end affair in the second half of extra time. There was no winner after 120 minutes, but two poor penalties from United meant Fulham were successful in the shootout. The draw for the quarter-finals took place at Old Trafford after the match, and Fulham were drawn at home to Crystal Palace. Sadly, the Reds won't be defending their FA Cup crown this season. Here's what we learned from United's penalty shootout defeat against Fulham. Wayne Rooney reacts to Manchester United defeat. Wayne Rooney was deeply disappointed after watching United crash out of the FA Cup on penalties. It was Fulham's first victory over United in the FA Cup since 1908, and it comes as a huge blow for Ruben Amorim and his players. Sitting in the studio for the match, providing match analysis for the FA Cup, United's all-time record scorer Rooney reacted to the disappointing defeat. Rooney stressed that it sums up United's season to date and claims it's a missed opportunity considering which teams remain in the competition. "It sums up their season really," Rooney said during a live BBC broadcast. "Very disappointing really. With the amount of top teams already out of the competition, it was a great opportunity for Man United. They've fallen short, it was two bad penalties. Now, the only competition United can win this season is the Europa League. It may well be the only route into Europe for United's first team." Rooney states that the biggest disappointment from United's defeat comes when looking at the other teams left in the FA Cup. Although United were unable to beat Fulham in the fifth round, most United fans would fancy the team, at their best, against Manchester City and Aston Villa, even if our Premier League form would suggest otherwise. Especially when United appear to be a cup team more than anything else. A win over Fulham would have seen United earn a home draw against Crystal Palace. But after knocking Arsenal and Leicester City out in previous rounds, it's United's turn to crash out of the competition. The Reds were unable to replicate last season's success. Sir Jim Ratcliffe sent X-rated Man United message after major 12-month failure. Manchester United were knocked out of the FA Cup by Fulham as supporters protested rising ticket prices at Old Trafford since Sir Jim Ratcliffe's investment into the club. Whatever your take on the Glazers and Sir Jim Ratcliffe, one thing is for certain: Manchester United's owners do not deserve Manchester United's fans. They do not deserve to have over 70,000 people loyally turning up to support their team every time there is a game at Old Trafford. They do not deserve the millions and millions around the globe that make United one of the biggest clubs in the world. These fans are not unique in their commitment to their club, of course not, but they are a reminder of just how loyal followers of football clubs can be. What is especially noticeable is that, rightly, they feel compelled to make their deep dissatisfaction with the ownership brutally clear, but always balance their protests with encouragement for a team that needs all the encouragement it can get. And to call it deep dissatisfaction is an understatement. One of the opening chants on this tortuous FA Cup afternoon went like this: "Just like the Glazers, Jim Ratcliffe's You can fill in the blank." Fair play to Monaco Jim. To get himself bracketed with the Glazers after only 12 months of involvement is some going. And on banners and in song, there were references to Ratcliffe upping ticket prices, even for kids. £66, you're taking the... And they are absolutely spot on. This game was worth £66 of no one's money. People are being asked to pay top dollar to watch a bang-average set of players labor against whatever opposition rocks up at this dilapidated arena. There may be plenty of tourists who want to tick a box, but a lot of devoted fans are having to dig deep in tough times, and they know plenty of their cash goes towards the hefty Glazer dividends. But they continue to give an underperforming squad unrelenting backing. Before Bruno Fernandes cancelled out Calvin Bassey's first-half header, it would have been easy for the home support to get restless. But, typified by the reception they gave to teenage striker Chido Obi, they stayed behind their team. And a good few stayed around to sing Joshua Zirkzee's name after he became the second United man to see his penalty saved in the shootout. Not for the first time this season, Zirkzee looked close to tears, but the real crying shame is what the owners are putting the fans through. Thanks for following us.